Today's Mercedes-Benz interview of the day brought to you by the utterly inspired all-electric EQE sedan from Mercedes-Benz. The vehicle, all-electric, feeling all Mercedes. Learn more. MBUSA.com/EQE. He is the recently retired Football Morning in America columnist, Peter King. This will be the last time we'll ever have Peter on the show because there's no reason to have him on after this. He's not going to be doing anything. Not going to be relevant. He's going to be retired. Let's all say goodbye to Peter King.
Bye, Peter.
Good run.
Very impressive.
Dan, I look forward to a life of irrelevance.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to my world. All righty. A couple of things here. By the way, you have a Wake Forest jacket on. Are you pro court storming? Is that why you're wearing that?
I detest court storming.
Okay.
It's idiotic. It shouldn't happen. And I've thought that even before this guy got hurt from Duke. It's bad. It's dangerous. It's just a dumb idea, and they got to do something about it.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out. What is it that they can do that's going to prevent this? Whereas when you have professional sports, we encourage the security guy to knock the guy to the ground when he runs onto the baseball field or football field. Here, you're kind of saying, go on down there and have a little bit of fun. But the game, they're not interrupting the game. This is after the game. And my solution is just ensure that you have police presence and you get the opposing team off the court. Like, that's what their job is. Make sure you corral them, get everybody to the locker room, and then if the students want to come on the floor, fine. But get the opposing team off the floor safely.
From here on out, what I would do if I were a coach, I would simply say that, especially if my program is a big program like Duke, I would simply say at each game I have, I want 8 security officers there after the game. And I want them to create a little funnel after the game. And that funnel leads to the tunnel that lets people go out of a place peacefully. Because quite honestly, I don't trust schools. Even if they ban court storming, I don't trust them to make the court storm-proof. But anyway, what do I know? I just saw this and I just said, who allows this idiotic stuff to happen? Where is the NCAA? But I've said that about the NCAA for the last 3 or 4 years. It is an idiotic, useless organization.
You sound like a retired guy.
Oh, I'm yelling at the clouds. I'm Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino. How in the world can the head coach at UCLA go to become the offensive coordinator at a school in the same conference? What is wrong with this picture? I'll tell you what's wrong with this picture. The Pac-12 should be the Pac-12. The idiots who put the Pac-12 in the Big Ten are idiots. They just are. Do you realize that the minor sports, and I hate to call them the minor sports, the non-revenue sports, how would you like to be on pick a team, the UCLA men's soccer team, and have a road trip to State College, Pennsylvania, or you name it, and you play one game, and then you get back on a plane and you fly back to Los Angeles. I know some of them are going to do 2 games and all that stuff, but even 2 games, you're flying 3,000 miles to play 2 soccer games or 2 softball games or maybe even 1, and then you go back home. A bunch of idiots.
It's just money. It's just greed, Pete. That's all this is. Look at Big East basketball, the best conference ever. And what happened? Football greed ruined the best basketball conference in America. That's all it is. That's the bottom line. Speaking of the NCAA, I have an idea.
Yeah.
Looking at these running backs, they're all available. They're going to get franchise tag. Anybody getting a contract here? What if we said that we're going to give exemptions to running backs after their sophomore year, that they could leave college if they wanted to go to the NFL?
Well, then I'm sure what you would do is you would get maybe not a union, but some sort of organized effort for the left tackles to say, well, why do we have to stay 3 years? Well, I understand why you're saying that, Dan, because there's only so much tread on a tire for a running back.
Yeah.
But, and again, I don't mean to sound callous, but running backs, unfortunately, in the way the game is today, are simply not as important as they were 20 years ago. 20 years ago, a running back had just as much of a chance before the season of winning the MVP. Look at the years that Adrian Peterson and LaDainian Tomlinson and Sean Alexander had. So it's just the way the game goes. And of course, you feel sorry for Saquon Barkley that he makes 1/4 of what Daniel Jones makes. It's stupid. Unfortunately, that's just the economics of the game.
What was your first year covering the NFL?
I covered the Bengals for the Cincinnati Enquirer in 1984, and I actually picked up rookie quarterback Boomer Esiason at the airport the day he got drafted. And he had a teammate named Pete Koch, who was also drafted, who was a defensive end, 6'5", 290. And so I had a 2-door Volkswagen Rabbit. And I went to say, hey, I'm picking you up. And they looked around saying, a media guy is picking us up from the airport? I conveniently hid them from the guy in the limo that was sent to pick them up from the Bengals. And so we went to the parking lot, we get in the car, and Boomer Esiason, who was already pissed off about being picked in the middle of the second round, he looks at the car, realizes he's going to have to squeeze into the back seat, and he goes, welcome to the effing NFL.
And he's had a chip on his shoulder ever since then.
Yes, he has, and he still does. That's right.
Okay, so all the years you covered the NFL, if I said you can have the answer to one story, one question, what's the one question or one story that you want an answer to that you didn't get?
I would really want to know why Bill Belichick felt the need to videotape sidelines when he already was the most brilliant defensive coach maybe of all time. That will always confuse me. It's like when Robert Kraft asked him, and this was in this documentary, he said it many times. When I asked him how much of an advantage it gave him, Belichick said 1%. And Kraft said to him, well, you're a schmuck. I mean, it's just, I realize you try to get every edge, but when the league tells you the previous year you can't do this because they know you've been doing it, and then you do it again the first year at your arch rivals where Eric Mangini is coaching the team. I mean, Bill Belichick is a lot smarter than I ever will be about many things in life. He wasn't very smart that year.
Yeah. Trying to figure out, though, Bill's next move. Is there a chance in your mind that he has coached his final NFL game?
I guess there is, because how in the world could there be 7 openings other than New England, and he gets one formal interview? Now, he probably got a couple of phone calls. Hey, what do you think? Is it worthwhile for us to talk? Whatever. But, I mean, I keep wondering, you're Josh Harris. You just paid $6 billion for this football team. Explain to me why you wouldn't sit in a room with Bill Belichick for a day or for 6 hours.
Yeah.
At the very least, to simply download his brain. I will never understand why Washington did not interview Bill Belichick.
Talking to Peter King, the recently retired Peter King. The Chicago Bears, not a report, but you kind of sent something out there that caught my attention where you go, I could see the Bears. The wind is blowing that it looks like they'll trade that number 1 pick. These are scenarios that could happen. How much research is in there, Pete?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
You didn't speak to anybody.
I spoke to nobody. I haven't talked to anybody. Like, Dan, a year ago at this time, I just read. I read what's out there. A year ago at this time, I sat in a room for 45 minutes with Ryan Poles, at the scouting combine at the Hyatt in Indianapolis. his next appointment was Scott Fitterer, the general manager of the Carolina Panthers. And this is what Ryan Poles is going to do this week. And I just believe, if I am Ryan Poles, you know what I have on my team? I have a B quarterback with about 10 significant holes. I probably, in the next 2 drafts, could take the first pick in this draft and turn it into, along with my other picks, a total of maybe 8 picks in the top 2 rounds in the next 2 drafts. I could do that. Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you build a great team around a B quarterback instead of drafting a quarterback who might be an A quarterback, but it's the hardest thing to project in all of sports. What quarterback that you draft is going to be great? Look at the misses over the years. So in my opinion, if your locker room loves Justin Fields, if you know that you can surround Justin Fields with a supporting cast the way Brett Veach and Andy Reid have surrounded Patrick Mahomes with a supporting cast, to me, it's not a very difficult decision. But I don't know what they're going to do, Dan. I put that in basically because you just keep hearing things about this. And I just believe that the smartest thing for them is to trade the pick.
Now that you're retired, what are you going to do Sunday night after all the games?
Go to sleep happily. And I probably won't make it to the end of the Sunday night game, which will be a happy moment for me, because one of the reasons I wanted to retire before the scouting combine is that I used to love going to the scouting combine 5, 6, 8 years ago. You're up till 1:30 every night, but you're also spending 45 minutes with Sean McVay or with whoever, with all these, well, not Sean McVay anymore. He doesn't go to the scouting combine, but all these coaches you see out, hey, how you doing? What's going on? You just sit with them and you talk to them about whatever. And that is great. But I've gotten to the point in my life, I knew one of the reasons it's time to go is that I have no desire to stay up till 1:30 in the morning anymore to do anything. Sorry. That's just the way it goes when you're 66. So that's one of the reasons that I knew it was time to go.
All right, before I let you go, can you help me with this campaign crusade to get Brent Musburger into the Hall of Fame?
Well, Dan, I saw that a few weeks ago. I'd be happy, and I believe absolutely unequivocally, the Hall of Fame voters have nothing to do with the people that are selected for the Roone Arledge Award, which is, the TV award.
The Pete Rozelle Award.
The Pete Rozelle Award. I'm sorry. Pete
yeah,
Rozelle.
But you know those people, so
I have said on many occasions, this guy should be in, that guy should be in. But
okay.
Dan, I'm not involved in any way other than to say, man, you ought to look at Musburger, you ought to look at this guy.
Yeah, but you don't have a job now, Pete. I'm giving you a job.
Dan, with all due respect, and I love Brent Musburger, there are a lot of things in my life that I could get on a crusade about.
Okay.
That's not the one that is number one on my list. However, I absolutely categorically think that Brent Musburger, who is on the Mount Rushmore of, the TV influencers in the history of the NFL, it's insane he doesn't have that award.
Well, congrats on the decision. And
all right, Dan, hey, thank you. Good to be with you always. And listen, I'm going to be scratching and clawing to get on your show when I'm feeling particularly lonely next October. So just make sure that Todd Fritz has an excuse built in. Oh, Peter, we're booked for the next 8 months. We got nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Hey, take care, guys.
Thank you, Peter.
All right. See you later.
That's Peter King. Football Night in America, also Football Morning in America columnist, and did it for a long, long time.